Now. All right, everyone, we're here today. It's Tuesday, November 19th, and we are talking about the news this week in cybersecurity with Albert Will.
Thanks, Dan. That's a great introduction. Sorry that we have to talk about bad things, but here we are, another week to discuss cybersecurity options. Um, Best thing I can say is that exploits happen, and you probably aren't aware when they're going to happen. But here's one for Palo Alto. PanOS is under active exploit. I'm shocked.
What's an exploit?
An exploit is the ability to make the software do something other than what it was intended to do. Like give
Ah,
external admin access or allow remote code execution or to do other things on the firewall or other servers. You can do this with applications, the servers, network devices. Firewall's a network device, essentially.
people.
People, yeah, you can exploit people, absolutely. But you're getting them to do things that they would not normally do. So this announcement came out on the 16th, which was Saturday, which is why we're talking about it today. They found three critical vulnerabilities. So here's my question. When an exploit happens, is the IT team always well informed where they're trying to battle these exploits happening while they're occurring? Or do we have to wait till sometime in the future after the event and they detect that the exploit happened? Because I think
Um,
that the latter is going to let a lot more stuff go through.
right.
That's the difference between being proactive, where you stop the attack before it starts or completes. Maybe you see an attack starting and you stop it so it never finishes and completes. Or you can let it complete and then record that it happened. And then sometime in the future, how long do you want me to pause? The earliest I've seen an exploit being detected was 50 days. It's usually 8 to 18 months.
So what did they do here? What did they exploit?
Well, exploits happen in different things differently. But this is giving them access inside a secured environment through the firewall. So
Wow.
in this case, let me just bring this up. They're talking about two exploits. One happened earlier this year. It was number 12. Another one happened. It's number 9,474 for this year.
Oh, wow.
So if this many events are happening, do you really want to be on the reactive side of events or proactive
No, you probably want to be like the Iron Dome of Israel, and be shooting the rockets down before they
before they
land.
land? Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you probably want to shoot the rockets before they launch, but
Well, if you can get them in the home country when they're launching, they do destruction over in the home country, right? No matter where it is.
right. So how would you apply that thought process here? Like, obviously, it's pretty hard to like track down all the hackers in the world, right?
Well, it might be. But then again, there are things that happen that allow us to identify good activities and bad activities. Like, where is it coming from? Where is it going to?
Hmm.
By identifying these things, we can block bad actors earlier on before they attempt to exploit a 0 day vulnerability. Do you know what a 0 day is, Dan?
Not off the top of my head right now.
That's fine. This is a good talking point. A 0-day vulnerability is one that hasn't been identified yet.
Ah,
And I might take a pause here to pull up a diagram that I have. Let's talk further while I pull up this diagram that talks about what is a 0-day and how long does that event take. Because I think it's a good way to understand the difference between being proactive and identifying when you can actually see it. Let's see. View, large icons. There we go. Almost got it. Didn't know I was going to be talking about this particular subject. But then again, that's why I have stock already available and prepared. Okay. So let me share this. So this is the timeline for a 0-day threat or any vulnerability. When the vulnerability is first introduced, that's time V. Okay, this x-axis is the timeline. When an exploit is released, because now we know that there's a vulnerability, somebody develops an exploit. Wonder who's developing the exploit,
the enemy, right?
or the people that implemented the vulnerability in whatever you're using, which could be the
Hmm.
enemy. Yeah, but maybe somebody that you thought was your friend really isn't. So the
Yeah, right.
exploit's released in the wild. And then for some period of time, it's unknown and undiscovered until when a vendor discovers it, that's time D for detection, then it stops becoming a 0-day attack. Now, this can be this TE to T, I don't know, is that alpha 0? That can be any amount of time from 5 minutes to 3 years. And if you're allowing exploits that you can't see inside your network, well, you don't know that you're secure and you don't know that you're not. I think they say ignorance is bliss, but if you're working in cybersecurity, that could be the biggest demise you could have.
Right.
So when they tell the public that they've detected this 0-day threat, and that's what they're doing, um, excuse me, with the Palo Alto exploit, they told the public and they started exploiting it. That's time 0. When a signature is released that will detect it is some other time forward. So we're extending the timeline even further, and we haven't found a solution yet. There's a patch. Oh, wait, there's a patch because we don't have enough patches in our society today. And that comes sometime after the signature is released. So there's a patch that's deployed, actually made available. It's not deployed yet. But then there's amount of time that it takes for the team to become available to deploy the patch. That's the total time for a follow-on attack. The window of exposure is from when it's introduced until it's actually fixed or resolved. My goal is to make the window of exposure pretty darn short. And that's what I think that we've done.
That makes sense.
So going back to where we were, the Palo Alto highest urgency severity 9.3. That makes it critical. This is something that you need to get fixed right away. So they've got a vulnerability It's being actively exploited. We still haven't identified how to fix it, and the teams need time to do that as well. So the window of the vulnerability keeps extending until it's fixed. Okay? That's the
Yep.
difference between being reactive or proactive. Proactive, we don't permit it to happen. We kind of know where the bad actors are coming from, and we block access to resources that may be utilized by them. And that's becoming harder and harder to detect. Do you know why?
No, why?
Because cloud services allow people to stand up an environment within 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So if you script your environment setup and configuration and get it ready to rock and roll, you can do this on the fly. Another
Right.
one, another firewall vendor, Fortinet, and they're stealing VPN credentials. What's the unique thing about VPNs? Do you know?
I don't know what's unique about them now.
Well, a VPN allows traffic to flow in an insecure network called the internet, and it protects the data by encrypting it through a virtual private network. So it encrypts all it traffic from the origination point to the destination point. Now, once it gets to the destination point, the owner of the destination controls all access to whatever the connections are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, this is
And if it's a rogue VPN service, someone that you don't know of and can't can't find physically, to me that those are two big bells and whistles that are screaming out loud. They have your data. So if you're going to the coffee shop and you're using some public VPN service, and I'm not going to name names because they all have the potential to do this. The potential to have the hacker close by see your traffic is zero because you're using a VPN. But the people that provide the service get all of your traffic and they can record everything: your login IDs, your passwords, your activities, your email, your banking creds,
well, that
everything.
applies to, I mean, you could apply that logic to I mean anything you log into, right?
Um, Not necessarily
Well,
because
anything
anything,
you log into and transmit information through.
well, yeah, but they don't have, when you're logging into an actual application, let's say it's a banking application, it's only good for one thing: doing your banking. And you're going to provide your login ID and your password. Okay. And then you have access to all of your accounts so that you can look at what's going on and determine how to move money around or make payments to people, bill pay, do transfers.
What about Apple's built-in private relay?
Built in private relay.
Yeah, Apple has like a built-in VPN now. It's called private relay.
Okay, private relay by Apple is a little better than having a public service because it's a known vendor and they don't want to tamper with their customers as much as an attacker would. Now, if you know and trust the owner of the VPN service, then by all means, you can feel safe in knowing that it's good. Like if your company offers you a VPN and the traffic ends up in the company's servers, well, that's where it should be, right?
Sure. Yeah. So the solution is to have your own dedicated IP address and uh, dedicated VPN that you host.
Absolutely. And that's what we intend to do with the next release of It's Safe is to be able to provide that personal VPN service for you so that it comes back to wherever you have It's Safe in your business, in your home. And since you know where it is, you know where the data is, then it can go from there and you feel safe in knowing that nobody's going to get access to your information.
So really the difference is with it's safe versus um like say Nord's like a Nord VPN is that it's safe. The VPN is hosted on that physical device that is in your office or
That
residence.
you
Versus,
own, that you can touch, that you manage. Yes.
right. Okay. That's a clear delineation right there. That makes
If it's
sense.
somebody else's service, they own, they manage, and they can review all traffic because in order for the VPN to end, it then goes out onto the internet in clear text or however it was set up to go initially. So
What about with
basically,
end-to-end encryption though, right? Because if you have it
well,
on the
VPNs are basically end to end encryption.
well, so let's look at Zoom's end-to-end, right? So the reason that Zoom, from what I understand, right? So Zoom is hosted on premise on the device, not on a web browser, and it is encrypting the information on your device before it transmits that information through the uh,
Internet.
the pipeline of the internet, and then it is being unencrypted on device at the receiver. Is that correct?
Um, I think it's being decrypted at Zoom.
If you look up Zoom's end to I think it's EE2E.
Okay,
From
well, if it does go to the other user, like if we had an encryption path between my computer and yours, then
Mhm.
yes, that would be the case. But I
Right. So
haven't
then,
looked up their end to end.
so let's
I
just
thought,
assume that's the case for the sake of
sure.
example.
And
So
that's what Telegram does.
if that's the case, then even if that encrypted information did pass through an unsecure VPN, they're not going to be able to read it, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, so they can read the ones and zeros, but it's encrypted.
right. They still wouldn't be able to break the encryption without using quantum or AI computing. Oh, wait, that's here.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean it's still yeah, exactly, but that's for another conversation, I think, right?
Yes, one of the things that you got to understand is it's difficult to protect your technology with technology. Now, using an appliance like ItSafe, which isn't the normal technology, goes a step beyond that rule because we break the cycle when problems are found. And we get to update all the solutions all at once so that IT teams don't need to do that update. We'll do it for them. They're already overwhelmed. Don't you think they have enough to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, my you got my wheels turning now from this the couple of these examples.
Well, that's good. I got two more examples and we're running out of time. So let's just um,
It's all good.
run through these as fast as we can. So there's 70,000 hijacked domains in widespread sitting ducks. Now, what does that mean? That means people take over these domain names and they can change it just slightly or register domains that are pretty close. And then they use vulnerabilities on these sites to capture you and to hack you when you connect to them.
Okay.
A lot of it's done with hacking DNS, which is another conversation for a different day. It's really not security related, it's more technology related. The last one I want to talk about is the dream job. With everybody looking for new jobs and businesses, be careful who you talk to and whose information you're giving out. And I'm saying it's your information, but if you keep giving out resumes to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, then eventually every Tom, Dick, and Harry will have your resume, and they could be you too.
How?
Well, they'll use your resume to apply for real jobs and pretend to be you.
Right. So that's a whole conversation about identity theft, right?
Well, it is partly identity theft, but also it's also phishing because now they're sending out fake jobs to get your resume to talk to them.
Oh yeah, I've seen this. Yeah. Yeah. So we should this is the whole next week should just be on I'll follow up on this conversation, to be honest. This is a
If
lot.
you like it to be, it can be.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. Some things definitely want to talk about off the record. And yeah, this was informative for sure.
Well, that's good. I mean, certainly there's a lot to learn in cybersecurity, and you're not going to learn it in a week.
No,
I
sir.
didn't.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn, and it's like I said before, I think it applies not just to cybersecurity, but a lot of the concepts apply to just security and privacy in general, right?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it's all driven by humans. So, I don't
Absolutely.
think that changes. But anyways, this was super informative. We're up on time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next week for next week in cybersecurity with Albert Will.
Thanks, everyone. See you
Ciao.
soon.